Huge 2023 Maverick news. So this is breaking news. We want to do a short live, and this is on the Maverick, not the episode that we just played where you thought maybe that I would never buy a Ford again. Well, that was about me covering a common quote I get on the channel, but let's just get straight down to business, put the pedal to the metal, and talk about something that affects all of us probably watching and us quite a bit. We've got images of a new Ford Maverick model. Now, if you recall earlier on, I had been talking about the possibility that the Maverick, it could be an ST, but that kind of takes it down more the SUV road, and that we were seeing, very, very limited pieces of a future Maverick that could have also possibly been a Rattler or a Tremor. Well, now with the images that we're getting, and I'll show you that right here, got these off Maverick Truck Club, and I have actually spent a lot of time today analyzing. Maddie hasn't seen these yet, so you guys are seeing them before she's seen them, but then again, you might have been on Maverick Truck Club, great source, or Ford Authority, two great places. But basically what I'm showing you in poor quality, sorry about that, webcam, we're going to start doing these off the phone, learn a new skill, but basically here are the highlights of the Ford Maverick. And you can look at it, Maddie, and decide if you would wait for this, because I have news actually about your build that is also kind of huge and very odd news that could be affecting a whole bunch of people. But here's the thing. These photos that we're seeing, you can't call them spy photos really, because the truck's uncovered. So we've got an orange bar on the grill. We've got orange tow hooks, and the shape of those tow hooks could mean something as well. So what is orange at Ford? Well, orange signifies at Ford that this is either a timberline, like the Ford Explorer timberline, which is just incredible, really well worth the money. I did a video on that. My conclusion to it was, really, unless you're power hungry, why get an ST when you can have a timberline? So if the Maverick comes out as a timberline, this is going to make it a little bit more of an SUV. This is sort of Ford saying, you know what, we've decided the Maverick is more SUV than truck. Sort of when you think about the Hyundai Santa Cruz, well, they just straight up from the beginning said, this is an SUV that can tow and has a box. And they didn't try to have it be anything less, and they shouldn't when really the payload in the box is 600 pounds. Now, Ford has a 1,500-pound payload, and with Ford specifically saying you can carry this many mulch bags, which turn out to be 1,500 pounds, it looks like you can put 1,500 pounds in the box. However, actually payload, it means the total weight. So legally, if you were to get pulled over, it includes the weight of the passengers. So just on a side note, so these are a light orange hue. And guess what I was looking at today? See if I get the photos here. I was looking at a Tremor, an F-150 Tremor. And with the F-150 Tremor, it's basically the same color. I was looking at my phone. I was looking at the Tremor, and I was like, these are the same. However, the F-150 Tremor has round tow hooks in the front, whereas the Timberline on the Explorer has angled tow hooks. Now, this isn't enough to put the nail in the coffin and say this is going to be a Timberline, because guess what? The Maverick FX4, which I also was comparing, I had, I was on a lot live, and well, the FX4 also has those angular tow hooks. So this in no way is a way of saying it's going to be a Timberline. Mind you, if they do call it out as a Timberline, we can expect for future models more of, along the lines of getting an ST. If this is a Tremor, well, then we can definitely expect getting a Rattler, because right now the photos that we saw, that is of a Lariat. So Tremor on the F-150, for example, you can't get it. The 2023 order guide, you can no longer get it as a 400. So you can't have, let's say, a base XLT Tremor. What you can have is the equivalent of an XLT Sport 302, but in Tremor form, adding about 6,000. Or you can have it as an add-on to a Lariat 502, meaning the most equipped Lariat. So those are some interesting facts about the new 2023 Ford F-150 order guide. And the reason I'm talking about it is because it's related to the Maverick. If they call this a Tremor, well, it's going to be following the F-150's footsteps, meaning there's a chance we get a Raptor. There's also a really good chance we'll get a Rattler. And really what a Rattler is it's an XL Tremor. So when you think of F-150, You can think Bronco being the most off-road version. Then you get the Tremor just below it, and then you have the Rattler, and that's coming out for 2023. There's also going to be a Heritage Edition coming out on the F-150, and the Bronco, actually, interestingly enough, the Bronco is going to have also a Heritage Edition. From what I'm suspecting it's going to be a Heritage Edition based on the painted roof, but that will be confirmed. But the Bronco, you can see, kind of also in a way is following along the footsteps of the F-150. Ford likes to kind of go along with tradition. And what they'll do with one model, if you're sort of part of the group or the segment, either the SUV segment or truck segment, you can definitely see patterns like the Tremor and the Raptor Rangers. So Marie, well, you get to look at and think about, why don't you tell them what you would think? If it's a Tremor, it's definitely 4x4. And even if it's even if it follows in the footsteps of the Explorer, you can still expect a 4x4. Would you possibly wait for that? Are you still very much sold a hybrid?
I guess because I was waiting for so long, I'll go with mine first. But after that, when we will plan to change, maybe it will be an option for me. I really love that since many years, Ford has bring back the Bronco, has came with the Maverick, and now these new model for the Maverick maybe. So I really love that. It's full of innovation since a few years.
Yeah, and if ever I could live without having a convertible, or if I just sticked with a Mustang convertible, I would definitely be more Maverick Tremor. And I really do hope this is going to be a Tremor, because if it's a Tremor, we have chances of having a Maverick Raptor, which I would love, because as it is, I could definitely see myself having a Ford Ranger Raptor instead of the Bronco. Now, just to give you a little heads up, so this is what I was comparing to. F-150 right here. You've got a Tremor F-150. That's the same color of tow hook that you're getting on the Maverick, but it's round, whereas the Maverick, you've got a lot of angles in the tow hook. It's not quite squared off. Then again, the Maverick we saw didn't have the Tremor hood scoops. And there's your orange on the label. So maybe a little bit more Tremor, really, than following the footsteps of the Explorer. And if it does follow in the footsteps of an Explorer, well then, yeah, okay, we're getting an ST, and we can kind of definitely basically forget getting a Raptor out of the Maverick. So that's why I'm hoping it's a Tremor, because I want a Raptor on the Maverick. I want be really cool. You know, yeah, exactly. And I would put that on with a 2.3 liter plug-in. That would be, in my head, that'd be the perfect Maverick plug-in Raptor, 2.3 liter. So all sorts of power plus plug-in. But then again, on the Tremor, you do not have the orange on the mags pointing to the stems, the valves, the way you do on that Maverick. Once again, you've got there's that orange, because it's slightly darker on the Explorer.
Yeah, and I really love the orange line that they put some everywhere. It's I don't know how to say that. It's more like a sports look, maybe. I really love that.
Yeah, no, the orange lines, it is cute. Yeah, okay.
Maybe not the right word.
So that's what it is right there. Won't show you guys all the photos I've taken today, but that's what an F-150 Tremor looks like. So it's got a lot of style, and Ford is basically giving us a clear picture of what their future plans are for the Maverick, and what we can start to expect things from it based on what this gets revealed as. Is it getting revealed as a Tremor? I hope so. Is it following in the Explorer's footsteps? It wouldn't be all that bad. We get an ST, but then with the Maverick already having a 2-liter turboed engine in it, I already find that the Maverick, you already have a fast option. I would find it a bit redundant to have an ST. I'd love to see it go down the off-road route, and I think there's a lot of money to be made in the off-road route as well. Marie, it looks like you have maybe a question that you picked up that you would like me to answer.
So Tom says, any news on a future hybrid Maverick all-wheel drive or Bronco Sport hybrid all-wheel drive?
Great questions. Yeah, recent spy photos. I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago. So did Tim Bartz, which we'll head over to at 8 p.m. And this is why we also want to keep this live short. We don't want to miss Tim's show, and we don't want any of you to miss Tim's show either. But we did a show on it. Basically, there were big, thick wires going up to a box. The box was quite possibly about the size of a 1.1 kilowatt battery. So they're very possibly testing out really what would be a plug-in all-wheel drive. And I say all-wheel drive because FX4 was sticking out from the sticker. Well, you could tell it was half the sticker, but it was clearly FX4. So some people pointed out that, hey, but there's no back diff from the photos that we saw. And what I pointed out is that the Lincoln Corsair, because you have the electric motor powering the rear wheels, you wouldn't see that diff back there. So still, I hold true to the fact that I believe, this isn't Loch Ness. This isn't a Sasquatch sighting. I think I'm quite justified in saying that is that's Lincoln Corsair technology. So all-wheel drive plug-in with a 14.4 kilowatt battery, that they put the 1.1 kilowatt battery maybe on the outside because the 14.4 was taking quite a bit of space rear seat, because they don't necessarily have like the architecture set up just perfectly. They still have to work maybe some things out between bed versus, well, bed and cabin are now combined, obviously, because this isn't body on frame. Anyways, won't get into that. The only other solution it could have been is that was the charge port on the outside. Tim Bartz noticed something I didn't notice, and I believe he had noticed, if I recall his video correctly, this is 2-3 weeks ago, but if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure he saw PHEV written on the side of that. So it very much leads to plug-in all-wheel drive. That doesn't mean we're getting it, for 2023. That could be something that they'll announce in 2023 as a 2024. Maybe the big surprise will be a hybrid all-wheel drive. Now, will they pull that off on the Bronco Sport? It depends. If they sell more Bronco Sports, well, where else? Ford, basically, if you're building more Bronco Sports because of demand, well, in the same factory, what other model is being built there? And that has huge demand. So right now, if I were Ford, I wouldn't necessarily want wild demand on the Bronco Sport and wild demand on the Maverick, because the factory can only build so many. So if you have crazy demand on the Maverick, but then it cools down a little bit on the Bronco Sport, great. It helps everyone get what they want. And right now, some dealers are actually getting Bronco Sports as inventory, whereas pretty much every dealer has a waiting list for Ford Maverick. So they need to cool down on the Bronco Sport to pump up production numbers on the Maverick. You got another question for me, and I can tell.
Yes, it's James. He says, I heard that Ford trademarked the Maverick, Lightning, and Ranger. Is this true?
Yes, absolutely. That's a patent, though, for Europe, so it does not necessarily mean that we'll get it, but I'm quite certain we will. I do expect after maybe Europe gets it, we'll have to wait and see, but I do suspect that we will be getting a Ranger Lightning and a Maverick Lightning, which just so exciting for what's coming down the road. Wait, that did say Maverick, correct?
Maverick, Lightning, and Ranger.
I'd done a bit of a video on that. It was part of one of my larger videos where I was just covering news. So sometimes there's so much news that I cover that I've got to do a double check. Now, huge news. I kind of mentioned this at the beginning, so I can't forget to drop it before we clock out at about 7:50, 7:55. But Marie's order, she doesn't know. So this is news for her. You often find out stuff before she does, but
you tell me that we have a build date.
Almost, actually.
Almost.
I happened to be going through some various codes today, and I dropped in your code. So I won't tell everyone what your code is, but anyways, I dropped in your code, that whole 01 versus 03 original mix up from last summer when I thought yours was getting built, but instead it was an XL hybrid with nothing on it, basically. But you right now have a special code. You don't have a VIN, and you don't have a build date, and you don't have an ETA, but what you do have on your coding is material hold.
What is that?
Yeah, exactly. I asked myself the same question because
is that because it doesn't have the material to do it?
Yeah, and it's so simple that I had to double check. So I was like, I'm used to seeing plant hold. I'm used to seeing microchip hold.
That's a new one.
But material hold, it can be as simple as they just don't have seats for her Maverick. So right now, she's not being assigned basically a VIN. So if your Maverick currently says material hold, what this really means is they'd like to schedule you in the next, let's say, 30 to 45 days. That's when your build date would show up. And usually 30 to 45 days before, unless you get hit with delays, you'll get a VIN, or maybe a little bit more, but just rough time frames. So normally, it just simply means that the system, it's your turn. They want to build you, and they're saying, you know what, you're clean and it's ready to go, but there's a material hold. So it's not produced, because they can also produce it and then have a material hold because it's built, but there's no seats sitting in it. And I've actually seen that on various models, not the Maverick, but I specifically saw that, if I recall, on an F-150. And that was wild. It sat for like a couple months. So it was just missing seats. And anyone with an F-150 who's asked for full recline seats, those things were holding things back horrifically. And I was often, not often, I mentioned it a few times, like, order an F-150, don't take the full fold out seats. Anytime there's something completely new, there's a risk that supply and demand won't match up. And there's also just a risk that it's new parts coming in. Ford might get parts and say, no, this doesn't work. Send it back. Just like they did. They postponed by 1 year, not in Europe, but in North America, the Ford Escape plug-in. They postponed it for 1 year because there had been 7 fires in Europe on 7 models. They did something like, they recalled 29,500 or so Escapes. And they're just like, we're going to fix this. We're not just going to pump out vehicles. And I think that's the right thing to do. It's health before, before anything. So we've covered your material hold, and now it looks, you might have another question for me.
Reggie was asking if I'm getting an EcoBoost or a hybrid Maverick. So it's an hybrid. So that's why I'm waiting. Maybe if I choose an EcoBoost, I will have my VIN number way before.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, actually, just recently at the local dealership, they've had a cancellation of a Lariat Lux. So Lariat Lux, that was ordered about the 16th of January, and it showed up the 15th of, a little bit before the 15th of July. So that can give you a time frame right there, and you could definitely jump on it. One, it's more expensive. It'll take more fuel. So, looking over the numbers, you told me it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, the news that you had today for me was good and a bad news at the same time. So it's good they are ready for building mine, but they missed material. So that's fine. They are there. It will be my turn soon.
Yeah, and just hybrid generally has been anywhere has been really an issue. You want a hybrid from Kia, Hyundai, basically 1.5 to 3 years. You want a hybrid from Toyota, it's generally 2 to 4 years, depending on the model you're looking at. Batteries are in short supply, and they're also costing a fortune, quite a bit more to build. So that's that. What can you do? I'm just going to slide over here. I've got a reminder here about Tim's show. Of course, I'm not going to miss that. Computer doesn't need to remind me of that. I'm there every week.
We only have 10 minutes left before his show, so maybe we need to let him the place.
What I will do, because I see that this evening there's a lot of people who were asking, and this has been a reoccurring question, and since I have maybe 2-3 minutes, I'm going to cover Bronco colors. Tell you what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and of course, we'll talk more about this in a future live. But if I've got it here, we've got Bronco colors here. So I've seen this happen before in previous years for the Bronco and previous models. When there's a leak from an automotive touch-up company, it's been accurate. So I could definitely say for the Bronco, I do suspect that we will be getting Yellowstone. I think they slightly changed the color code, the formula for Cyber Orange, and now they're just being more straightforward and calling it what it is, yellow. So
I guess because every people says, hey, it's not orange, they changed the name.
Great news, Eruption Green. Well, Eruption Green is staying, Eruption Green metallic, so no changes there. Really awesome code orange, but will code orange be offered on anything other than a Raptor? Not sure. Probably still a Raptor thing, but I'll keep you all informed.
And this one is really orange.
Yes, and that one, thank you, hun. You got the eye
you
for
will
that.
need to show that after.
We still have Race Red, which I have at my local dealership on an Outer Banks that happened to end up being for sale. It's a soft top, 2.7 liter. It looks good. It looks good, but I these days I'm into the really pop colors like Eruption Green. She's all about the yellow. That's her favorite right now, and I do still really love our Cactus. It's kind of like pops without popping. It's not much of an eye catcher unless you're caught staring at it. Then you're like, oh, that does catch the eye. You've got a new color called Terrain. You have Leadfoot Gray. I've seen Leadfoot Gray come on and off Ford models over the years. Leadfoot Gray is awesome. And what's cool is actually just recently, I think I wrote it on Tim's show. I don't think I mentioned it on my show, but I was saying Leadfoot Gray could definitely be a color that comes back and gets reused because it's sort of like one of those recycled colors. It's awesome, but they'll bring it on for 1 or 2 years, then remove it for a few. You got Velocity Blue, which we had lost on the F-150s, if I recall, in 2022. You've got Iconic Silver. That color just always hangs around. You don't have to worry if you've ordered that. This is a huge one, Fighter Jet Gray. So if you haven't seen my Ford Mustang Mach 1 video from a year-ish ago, almost a year and a half, I did a review on the Mustang Mach 1 in Fighter Jet Gray. So if you want to see that, it's an awesome color. We have Robin's Egg. That is a blue. It's a light blue, and it kind of reminds me of the light blue from the Broncos from the 1966 or 66 to 68 Bronco. It's awesome.
It really pops.
Yeah, it pops, and it's a 60s color. It's groovy. You've got Peak Blue Metallic, and that's a color I think we're really enough to see in person because
that's interesting. Yeah,
it almost looks. Does that almost look like it's almost touching on turquoise? Like there's a little bit of green in it.
It's a dark color, like a turquoise, but dark a little. Yeah, that's cute.
So those are our colors so far. I did mention Terrain. Peak Blue Metallic, that's kind of the one that's going to be, you'll have to see it in person to get any idea on it. Just like Antimatter Blue, when that was on the 2021 Bronco, you had to see that in person because before you would see it on the internet and on the computer, and it looked just like a darkish blue. And in reality, it's black unless the sun's hitting it, and the metallic just really pops. So those are our colors. And if I missed any of the colors, I kind of did that as sort of last minute because it popped up on a question for the last show, and I like to answer everyone's questions. You know, Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, we're here to help. I bring Marie along to make sure that she wants to help too. She's like, hey, you know, Johnny, you missed people's questions tonight.
Yeah, and
I'm like, come on the show then.
Yeah, and tonight we were short before Tim's show, but maybe next week we will be able to continue to respond to your questions. So just because tonight we're so close from Tim's show, so don't have that much time. Sorry.
And we had to do it tonight because I work every other night, so I can't plan anything because I can be home at 8 as much as I can be home at 9 p.m. or later. And this weekend we're lucky. We have the nieces, so we're going to give them a little bit of a pool party if the weather's nice, and really remind them that they're special to us. So we'll be treating our nieces to a real fun time. So we can't do a live and tell them to just go play on their tablets. We're going to be entertaining
but
them.
One of them wants to go off-roading, maybe. Last time she was asking for that.
Yeah, she's a bit of a she last time we were in the Bronco and she's like, oh, I want to go off-roading, and she was like, kind of like, can we go up that hill? Can we go up that hill? And then Marie's like, you can't do that in a grocery store parking lot. Yes, it's like stones and loose stones, but no.
Yeah,
keep it classy.
We promised her we'll find a place to do that.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap it up unless there's one final last question because we have 30 seconds. I said we'd cut this by 7:55. We want to all make it on.
I see Michael says, is there a way to track my Bronco order if I don't have a VIN number?
Okay, yeah. As you could always try calling customer service and maybe getting an update on it, and maybe they have a VIN even though your dealer hasn't called and given it to you, or you haven't. Maybe it's just late on the email. No emails in Canada. But once you do have a VIN, then it's the Ford Track Your Vehicle website, but it needs both your order code and a VIN. Otherwise, there's nothing that can be done. So try calling customer service. Who knows? Maybe they'll say, well, yeah, you just actually got assigned VIN. And that would be your best and right now only hope if your dealer is saying, if you just call and rate off like, oh, no, we'll call you when we've got one, and it really sounds like they're not checking on the internal system, well, then call Ford customer service. Well, thank you so much for being here this evening. I got to head over to Tim's show. I want to be in the comments section, hearing what type of questions people have. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, that is a completely free button to press on. We'd love it if you press on it because it does help feed a poodle. And I want to say a real special thank you to our members. You're helping this channel really grow, and we've got some exciting future projects coming up. We just actually hit 2 million views on the channel, and hopefully with this live, we'll actually make it to 9,000 subscribers. So thank you everyone for all the support, putting up with my antics just the way she does. See you on Tim Bart's show. Take care. And well, we wish you all more cars and more power.
Bye.